One thing that human beings have been grappling with since time immemorial has been the issue of changing something they have learned over the years. It appears it's easier to learn something new than it is to unlearn what one has learned over the years. This is perhaps more pronounced among farmers in Malawi, who, like their counterparts in other developing countries, have been used to making ridges. But one organization is going out and about preaching something new, the gospel called conservation agriculture, or CA in short. Is International Maize and Wheat Improvement Center CIMMYT Director in Southern Africa, and is charged with the responsibility of leading this onslaught of preaching this conservation agriculture gospel in Southern Africa. Recently, Thefeuda was in Malawi as CIMMYT's campaign to find conservation agriculture converts among farmers in the country continues.
This project here in Kota, where we are at the moment, has been one of them. We work here since 2005 with the organization Total Land Care, and we try to implement conservation agriculture. We try to adapt it to the environment and their circumstances, and also to the climate. So what we have here is replicated on-farm trials with different treatments under conventional agriculture in ridge and furrow systems, and under conservation agriculture, where we have a flat planting without ridges with a dibble stick. And we also practice rotation here with groundnuts under CA, and we also practice intercropping under CA.
Thefeuda says he is greatly impressed with the level of adoption of conservation agriculture in the country, despite some challenges. Thefeuda admits it has not been easy to teach conservation agriculture to the farmers who have been used to making ridges all their lives, as far as farming was concerned.
I have seen very positive things during my visit today and yesterday. In the past, we were confined mainly to our research trials and demonstrations where we did good work. They are more and more used as learning centers and demonstration plots for farmers to practice and adapt these systems on their own fields. So I've seen a lot of farmers' fields now covered with residues, planted on flat without ridges. A lot of rotations have come up, which was not the case when I really started in Malawi. So there is change that I did not think would happen so fast. So I see a lot of farmers adopting conservation agriculture system. It becomes more and more mainstream in the landscape. It's very encouraging for me to see, because it actually pays off what we have invested. But it took some time. So change doesn't come overnight. It's behavioral change that takes time. Also change in the soil, and also change in the whole extension service. You know, we have been promoting contour ridges for many years. Now a new system has come up, planting on the flat with residue retention, with rotation, is sort of a change in the whole mindset and the whole paradigm of agriculture here.
On this particular day, Thefeuda and his team visited gardens of some farmers practicing conservation agriculture in Salima, Kota, and Doa districts in the central region of Malawi. But why is CIMMYT so passionate about conservation agriculture? Is there any correlation between conservation agriculture and food security?
I strongly believe that you get greater food security and nutrition security and income security when you practice conservation agriculture. Food security means that you reliably harvest also in years where you have dry spells and droughts, because conservation agriculture conserves more moisture, so you can grow more maize in general. Nutrition security you improve or get when you introduce rotations. When you have groundnut or pigeon pea or soybean in the rotation, so that farmers can benefit. Cowpeas are also very versatile. You can also eat the leaves for relish and use it for other purposes. Also, we are introducing more nutritious maize varieties in the farming system alongside conservation agriculture, like vitamin A rich maize or quality and protein maize. They're all applicable for conservation agriculture, so we get more nutrition security. Now on the income security, when you get more productivity, you can sell more, but also you have less labor on producing these crops because you don't do any ridging anymore. That means you also improve the overall income for farmers.
Mphatso Gama, CIMMYT representative in Malawi, agrees.
The CA can promote food security because you know the impacts of climate change. Farmers have been hit hard because of the effects of climate change. So if we bring in CA to our farmers, even if you have drought, for example, farmers are able to yield something. And if farmers are able to yield something at household level, then we improve food security at that level. And if more farmers are doing CA and we have improved food security at household level, then we move on to the national level. So we really believe that if we are doing CA, definitely we can improve the food security both at household level as well as at national level.
Gama says although he has no empirical evidence, he has the feeling crops under conservation agriculture are withstanding the onslaught of false armyworms which wreaked havoc in most parts of Malawi as well as other parts of southern Africa.
Like in Nkhotakota, what we have observed, we have seen that there has been an outbreak in some areas of fall armyworm. But surprisingly, what we have observed is that under the region farrow system, the infestation is a little bit higher than the conservation agriculture process. We are not yet sure whether CA is contributing something to the prevalence of the fall armyworm. But that's an area of research. I think government is doing what it can, like the research, they are doing what they can to find out whether fall armyworm has to do with the control, which is under maybe conservation agriculture or region and farrow system. But what we have seen is that the plots that are under region farrow system, they are more affected than the conservation agriculture plots.
CIMMYT's work in Africa helps farmers access new maize and wheat systems-based technologies, information and markets, raising incomes and enhancing crop resilience to drought and climate change. In Malawi, CIMMYT has partnered with a number of organizations, including Total Land Care.
We have seen so many fields under conservation agriculture as we are coming to this place. However, I should point it out that I think we have even more farmers who have not yet adopted the technology, which calls for collaboration between Total Land Care, Ministry of Agriculture, and other partners that are working in this area. From my understanding is that farmers have been farmers from time immemorial. They have a large experience on their back. So it can't take a day for us to convert them. It will take some time for them to understand the technology properly.
And during this visit, farmers who have adopted CIMMYT's gospel of conservation agriculture said they now see a huge difference already. Take for example, this farmer. He has been making ridges in his entire life, of course, until 2 years ago when he turned to the gospel according to CIMMYT. He says it's high time farmers in Malawi turn to conservation agriculture if they are to improve their produce, especially in light of climate change.
Pasaka zimenezi nenda pindula kwa basi chifuka munda muona waung'ono 20 ndikazala mtedza wanga ndiye kuti ndi 40 pamene nimapeza kuti apo khapa nimatutsapo mtedza wasachepera ndowa 20 pamene wamizere mumlenga lomwewo imapezapo ndowa 9 ndikwauza zanga kuti asachedwe ndi ulimi womachita mizere kapena magalauza komata mapanga ulimi mene kopanso mene ngwachidule chifukwa pali pano munthu amalima mowapepukidwa ntchito yake sagwira musindikaso.
Sebastian Scott is son of Guy Scott, former vice president of Zambia. But he is a farmer too. And on this day, he accompanied the CIMMYT team in Malawi. Scott feels conservation agriculture is a game changer as far as farming is concerned in Southern Africa.
All the farmers we've seen and all the plots we've seen indicate that conservation agriculture is a very viable option for farmers. And the most overriding thing which I think I've seen is to do with the conservation of the residues from last year's crops. Wherever farmers have taken care to look after their crop residues, there's nutrients in those crop residues, so you find after a number of years especially, you get a big benefit from all the nutrients and the organic matter. You know, many years ago, farmers used to rely on the natural soil fertility. People used to plant without applying any fertilizer at all. And that's because all the tree leaves and the manure from the animals were dropping. They all have nutrients and they all have organic matter like manure, compost. However, if you farm the same soil for many years, it becomes degraded because every year you are taking off the residues from the field or burning them. So the nutrients are now not going back into the soil like they do in a natural system. So even in Zambia, it's the same story. People used to farm for 2-3 years, then the crop would start declining, then they would move to another place, they let that other place go back to bush for 10-15 years. We can't do that anymore. And I'm sure in Malawi it's worse because there's more people and less land. So now it shows very clearly in these plots that where you have organic matter, the residues from last year's crop, together with a rotation, crop rotation, in this case groundnuts with maize, you have a cumulative benefit, meaning that every year you do it, you're seeing better and better results, and that's what the results of these trials are showing. Over the long term, things really improve if you do good agronomic practices, minimize tillage, have the residues intact, leave them on the field, try to stop people burning them, try to stop the animals eating too much, or if the animals eat, at least you can bring manure back to the field and do a crop rotation. So the principles of conservation agriculture seem to be doing the trick.
So, back to our initial questions. Is conservation agriculture the new gospel to embrace? What about the skepticism? There we are. The gospel according to CIMMYT that is sweeping across Southern Africa. Will it get more converts? Only time will tell, as it is so hard to unlearn what one has learned over the years. This actually becomes even more difficult in farming.